The night was hot in Lagos. Adaora sat on the small rug in their sitting room, close to the fan that was barely turning. She spread her salary on the floor and counted it slowly. Her hands were shaking. Outside, Okada sounds came and went. Inside, her heart beat fast. Femi's debts were many: the pepper seller, the mechanic, the landlord. Two loan apps kept calling her phone every hour. She had borrowed money from her office to help him. She sold her small gold chain and her wedding shoes. Still, it was not enough. Femi lay on the sofa, scrolling on his phone. "Babe, try. God will do it," he said without looking up. Adaora forced a smile. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to believe that love could fix money problems. She wrote figures in a small notebook: transport, food, rent, loan repayment. Nothing remained for herself. She looked at her cracked phone screen and sighed. "It is well," she whispered. When NEPA took light, the room fell dark. Adaora lit a small candle and kept counting. A tear dropped on the money. She wiped it quickly. "I am a wife," she told herself. "I will stand by my husband." She did not know the storm that was coming. The next morning, Adaora opened her wooden box and took out the last thing she had kept from her wedding: her gold earrings, her lace blouse, and a small purse she loved. She went to Balogun market and sold them. As the trader counted the money into her hand, she felt a deep pain in her chest. These were not just things, they were memories. But she told herself, if this will save Femi, it is worth it. After work, she stayed back in the office typing late into the night for extra pay. She ate only a small plate of rice once a day and drank water to fill her stomach. Her friends noticed her weight loss. "Ada, you are killing yourself," one said. But Adaora only smiled weakly. "When you love someone, you help them," she replied. She believed she was building a future, but without knowing it, she was building it alone. One evening, Adaora came home tired and dusty. Femi met her at the door, smiling wide. "Thank you, my love," he said. "You are my life. Without you, I'm finished." Her heart melted. For the first time in months, she felt seen. She served him amala and ewedu with meat, even though she herself had eaten only bread. That night, they talked like they used to. He told her his dreams, how he would pay back every kobo and start a new business. Adaora believed him. She even laughed at his jokes. Lying beside him, she thought, maybe this suffering will end soon. She closed her eyes with hope in her heart, not knowing that a darker day was coming. The next weekend, Mama Nkechi came visiting. She was a strong woman with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She sat Adaora down after lunch. "My daughter," she began, "a good wife supports her husband, but make sure this man values you. A woman who carries a man's load must be sure he will carry hers." Adaora laughed lightly. "Mama, don't worry. Emi loves me." Mama Nkechi shook her head. "Love is not only in words. Watch his actions." That night, Adaora lay awake thinking about her mother's words. But in the morning, she pushed the worry away. She was sure Femi would never hurt her. It was a rainy Tuesday. Adaora's office was busy, and she stayed late to finish a report. At 8 p.m., she called Femi to tell him she would be late. He didn't pick up. She called again. No answer. She smiled to herself. Maybe he's asleep. By the time she reached their street, the rain had stopped. She unlocked the gate quietly, thinking she would surprise him with meat pie she had bought. The sitting room was dark, but the bedroom light was on. She pushed the door open and froze. Her wrapper was on the floor. A strange woman lay on their bed, smiling. Femi was beside her, shirtless. The meat pie fell from Adaora's hand. Her breath caught, the room spun, and in that moment her heart broke. Adaora's voice was stuck in her throat. She couldn't speak. The strange woman sat up slowly. wrapping Adaora's wrapper around herself like she owned it. Oh, this must be your wife, she said, smirking. Femi jumped up from the bed. Adaora, it's not what you think. Adaora's chest burned. Not what I think. The woman was in their bed, wearing her wrapper. The truth was right in front of her eyes. She turned and walked out, her legs shaking. Outside, the cool night air slapped her face, but it couldn't stop the heat of betrayal burning inside her. Femi ran after her, grabbing her arm. Wait, Ada, she means nothing to me. I was lonely. Adaora laughed, but it wasn't the laugh of joy. It was bitter. Lonely? While I was killing myself to pay your debts? Femi looked guilty, like a thief caught in the act. Adaora pulled her arm away. Enjoy your company, she said, and walked out of the gate. Each step felt heavy, but she didn't look back. That night, Adaora went to mother's house. She dropped her bag and broke down crying. Mama held her tightly. My daughter, better to lose a bad husband than lose yourself. Adaora cried until her eyes were swollen. She thought of the loans, the sacrifices, the sleepless nights. She felt like a fool. The pain in her chest was like a knife. She couldn't understand how love could turn into such deep hurt. The next morning, Adaora's phone wouldn't stop ringing. The debt collectors were still calling. The loans were in her name, not Femi's mine. She sat at the edge of the bed, staring at the floor. She had carried his debt with her own hands, and now she was left with it alone. Mama brought her tea. You will pay this debt, and you will rise again. God will fight for you. Adaora nodded weakly, but her heart was heavy. 2 days later, Adaora went back to the house to pack her things. Femi met her at the door. Adaora, please, I will change. Don't leave. She didn't reply. She entered the bedroom and saw the same woman's shoes under the bed. That was all the answer she needed. She picked up her bag and walked past him. May God forgive you, Femi. This time, she didn't cry. She was done. The room Adaora rented in Surulere was small, just enough space for a bed, a small table, and a plastic chair. The paint on the walls was peeling, and the single window looked out onto a noisy street. But it was hers, and there was peace. She started going to work early and coming back straight home. No distractions, no unnecessary conversations. At night, she would sit on the bed, holding her phone calculator, trying to plan how to repay the debt. Her salary alone wasn't enough. She decided to start making small chin-chin and puff-puff to sell in her office and on the street in the evenings. The first day, she carried the snacks in a neat, transparent bucket. People bought. Some even asked for more. It wasn't much, but it was hers. For the first time in a long while, she was building something with her own hands. Yet, deep inside, she still carried the wounds of betrayal. One hot Saturday afternoon, Adaora stood at the bus stop, holding her bucket of snacks. She had been walking for hours under the sun, and her legs ached. A tall man in a neat shirt stopped and bought puff puff from her. This is nice, he said, smiling warmly. What's your name? Adaora, she replied softly. My name is Kola, he said. You're doing well. Keep it up. They spoke for a few minutes while waiting for their buses. He didn't try to flirt or talk too much. He simply encouraged her and left. That small kindness stayed with her all day. It had been a long time since someone spoke to her without trying to take something from her. Kola began buying from Adaora often. He would ask, how's business? And listen carefully when she spoke. One day, he said, you could make more profit if you bought flour in bulk. I can give you the money to start. Adaora's first instinct was to refuse. She had learned to trust no one, but something in his calm eyes made her pause. I don't want trouble, she said. No trouble, Kola replied. You can pay me back when you're ready. She thought about it for days. Finally, she accepted. True to his word, Kola didn't pressure her. He simply watched her business grow, and Adaora began to see him as a friend. One evening, Adaora was arranging her snacks at the roadside when she heard a familiar voice. Adaora. She turned and saw Femi. He was thinner, his shirt torn at the collar, his face tired. I need help, he said, lowering his head. Things are bad for me. Please, just a little money. Adaora's heart twisted. She remembered the man who had smiled in another woman's arms while she suffered for him. I don't have anything for you, she said quietly. Femi's eyes darkened. So you can help strangers but not your own husband? I was your wife. You made me a stranger long ago, she replied. She turned away and kept arranging her snacks. That night, Adaora told her mother about Femi's visit. Mama listened, her face calm. My daughter, forgiveness is for your own peace, but going back to a snake will only get you beaten again, Mama said firmly. Adaora nodded. She had forgiven in her heart, but she would never open that door again. Still, she feared love. She feared trusting another man. The memory of betrayal was like a scar on her soul. Mama touched her hand gently. Not every man is Femi. When the right one comes, you will know. Adaora smiled weakly, not believing it. But deep inside, a small seed of hope began to grow. Weeks turned into months. Kola's help had made Adaora's snack business steady. She could pay part of her debts each month without starving herself. Kola often stopped by to buy puff-puff and chin-chin, sometimes staying to talk. He asked about her dreams, her family, and her past, but never pushed when she didn't want to answer. One evening, as they shared a plate of roasted corn by the roadside, Kola said, Adaora, you've been through a lot, but don't let one bad man destroy your belief in good ones. She smiled faintly. That's easy for you to say. It's not easy, he replied softly, but it's worth it. For the first time in years, Adaora felt safe around a man. It scared her, but it also warmed her heart. It was a cool Sunday evening. Adaora had just closed her shop when Kola appeared with a shy smile and a small box in his hand. Adaora, he began, his voice steady. I don't just want to help your business. I want to build a life with you. Will you be my wife? Adaora froze. Her mind went back to Femi, the lies, the betrayal, the pain. Her eyes filled with tears. I'm scared, she whispered. I know, Kola said, stepping closer. But I'm not him. I will never make you carry a burden alone. The sincerity in his eyes broke through her fear. Slowly she nodded. Yes. The wedding was small but beautiful. Mama Nkechi sat proudly in the front row, wiping tears from her eyes. Adaora wore a simple white lace gown, and Kola looked sharp in a navy blue suit. There were no flashy cars or big parties, just genuine smiles, warm embraces, and prayers for their new life. As they exchanged vows, Adaora felt peace settle in her heart. For the first time since her marriage to Femi, she believed in love again. That night, in their small but cozy home, she whispered to herself, this is what love should feel like. Kola and Adaora walked side by side, turning her small snack business into a full restaurant in Surulere. The walls were painted bright yellow, the tables neatly arranged, and the aroma of fresh pastries filled the air. Customers came from far and near. Kola handled the accounts while Adaora ran the kitchen. Within 2 years, they had paid off every debt in her name. Adaora even started helping young women who were struggling, teaching them how to make snacks and run a business. She no longer saw herself as the woman who was betrayed. She saw herself as a survivor, a builder, and a blessing to others. One quiet evening, Adaora sat on the balcony of their home, watching the Lagos sunset paint the sky in gold and orange. Adaora thought about the past, the sacrifices, the pain, the long nights of tears. She remembered the night she walked in on Femi with another woman and how she thought her life was over. But here she was, living a life she had once thought was impossible. She smiled and whispered to herself, Never carry a burden for someone who will drop you in the fire. Love yourself enough to walk away. Mama Nkechi's words echoed in her mind, and Adaora knew she would never forget them. She had carried his death, but now she was carrying her own joy. News travels fast in Lagos. Femi heard about Adaora's wedding from a mutual friend. One hot afternoon, he appeared outside her restaurant. His shirt was faded, his shoes worn out. Adaora, please, he begged. Forgive me. That woman I was with, she left me when I became broke. I have nothing now. You are the only one who ever cared for me. Adaora didn't even look up from her counter. Femi, go home. There is nothing for you here. But he didn't stop. He kept coming, waiting outside her shop, calling her phone, sending messages. Kola noticed and grew concerned. This man is crossing the line, he said. One day, Femi grabbed Adaora's hand in front of customers, and that was the last straw. Kola took him to the police station. At the station, Femi was made to sign a paper promising never to come near Adaora again. He spent days in a cell, no one came to bail him. The man who once laughed in another woman's arms now sat alone, forgotten. 1 year later, Adaora and Kola flew to Paris for their first wedding anniversary. The Eiffel Tower stood tall above them, lights twinkling in the night. They walked hand in hand, laughing, taking pictures, and tasting French pastries. On their last day in Paris, Adaora felt dizzy. She bought a pregnancy test, and when she saw the result, her heart leapt. She was pregnant. That evening, in a cozy restaurant overlooking the Seine River, she told Kola the news. His face lit up like the Paris lights. This is the best gift you could give me, he said, pulling her into his arms. When they returned to Lagos, the celebration doubled. Not only was Adaora expecting a baby, but Kola also received a letter from his office. He had been promoted to a senior position with a bigger salary and a company car. As they sat together that night, Adaora whispered, God turned my tears into laughter. Kola kissed her forehead. And we're just getting started, he said. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories about love, family, and life lessons. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads. Thank you for watching.